Welcome to Boards, Beer, and BS, the Snomie.com podcast where snowboard pros, coaches, and local riders hang out, have a drink, and talk snowboarding. My name is Jedidiah Tan, snowboard coach and founder of Snomie.com. If you like hanging out with other snowboarders and talking about snowboarding, this is the podcast for you. So sit back and enjoy the podcast. Hello everyone, welcome to the Snomie.com podcast. So I think this is episode 4 of our snowboard podcast. This week I am solo because I'm testing out some different things, just seeing what works best for this podcast. And with me being solo, it just lets me organize the podcast better. I can get more in-depth into certain snowboard topics and I don't have to worry about keeping the conversation going with the guest. So we're just testing different things out. Let me know how you guys feel about this, whether you prefer me being solo, you prefer me with a co-host like JP. Just let me know how things are. What do you prefer, basically? Because with it being solo, it just makes it easier for me to put these out more regularly because I don't have to worry about organizing things and I never have any tech issues because my tech is solid on my end. So there's the reason that these podcasts don't come out that regularly is that it's a huge pain sometimes with the tech issues, trying to get Skype calls organized, trying to get pros to show up at the right time. That's why there's been some huge gaps sometimes between the shows. It's just, it can be a pain to try to get other snowboarders organized at the same time. I don't know if this is a snowboard specific problem, but a lot of the times I try to organize an interview or something like that and the pro snowboarder will just not show up, and then later I'll find out that they were just hungover and they forgot. And that happens a lot, so it's a bit annoying when I'm trying to organize things. But if it's solo, then I can pump out these snowy podcasts every week, every 2 weeks pretty easily without worrying about tech issues and without worrying about people not showing up, then trying to reschedule them and all of that. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think, whether you guys prefer this solo format or whether you prefer me with more guests on. Yeah, so let's get into the podcast. So this podcast we're going to be talking about why I hate snowboard forums and Reddit, even though I'm pretty active on some of them. Why I almost never film myself snowboarding. We're going to talk about the X Games. We're going to talk about Toby Miller, aka what some people are calling the next Shaun White. And we're also going to talk about what it takes to be a pro. So stick around and let's get into it right now. So first topic, let's talk about that last topic, what it takes to be a pro. So I got this email from one of our long time readers, Atterberg, I think. I hope I'm saying that name right, but yeah, he's been reading our snowboard blog and he's a VIP member. He's been in our VIP group for a long time, and basically he wants to know what it takes for him to be a pro. So he's 17, he wants to be a pro snowboarder, but he only gets 5 days on snow per year right now. So here's basically my take on it is that, look, the first thing is, most of you guys who have been with this site and this blog for a while know that I'm not a fan of the pro snowboarding career. It's a pretty bad way to support yourself as far as reliability, income, and all of that. And as well as that, there are other ways you can earn a living and still get to snowboard. So I just don't think it's a very good career. But all that aside, if you wanted to go down that career, honestly, the first thing is you need to get more days on snow. I no matter how good the training is, no matter what you do at home, 5 days on snow a year is not going to cut it. If your goal is to become a pro, it's just not going to work because, look, the minimum level for pro snowboarding is increasing every year. And I mean, the minimum level is, you don't have to be Shaun White, right? You don't have to be doing triple corks or double corks, because there are pros that are just mediocre skill levels, but they still get sponsors because of personality, because of other reasons, because of visibility. Companies like sponsoring someone they like. So it's not just about throwing the best tricks, but you still do need that minimum skill level. And unfortunately, it's just not possible on 5 days a year of snowboarding. So, I mean, I know guys who pull smooth 540s, pull smooth 720s, 900s, 1080s even, that aren't sponsored. So you do need a minimum level to be a pro snowboarder, and it's not going to happen on 5 days per year on slope, unfortunately. So honestly, my first advice is forget about the pro stuff for now. Just focus on getting yourself into that situation where you can snowboard more. For one way I've seen a lot of people do that is, well, you're a bit young now at 17, but at 18, you could get a working holiday visa, go to somewhere like Canada for 1 or 2 seasons. And usually a lot of resort jobs in Canada will qualify you for residency. So if you work a full-time job while you're doing your seasons there, you usually qualify for residency after the first 2 seasons. So that's what I've seen a lot of people do. That's why 99% of the population of Whistler is just people that came and then they just stayed and then they qualified for residency. So those are just some ways that you can look at. First get yourself to the snow is the main thing. Get yourself to the snow, because whether you want to become a pro because you just love snowboarding or for other reasons, whatever it is, the first step is you need to be somewhere where you can snowboard more, right? I mean, I did it. I moved halfway across the world to go snowboarding. So that's the first thing you got to be. And it doesn't even mean that you might follow down that pro path later. There's so many options as far as careers that aren't actually you being a pro. I mean, there's so many guys living in Vancouver who work a normal day job, then they go do night riding every day up on the ski slopes that are around Vancouver, and it's only a 20-30 minute ride or drive over to the ski hills in Vancouver. So I mean, those guys get tons of days. So it's just not just how can I say it? Okay, it's not just about being a pro, right? If you love snowboarding, there's so many other ways you can do it. Don't focus on just that one way. So yeah. Okay, next topic. Let's talk about Toby Miller. So there's this video going around right now on all the snowboard blogs, and I'll put a link in the show notes below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description below. If you're watching this or if you're listening to this on iTunes or on a podcast, just go to the Snomie.com blog and it'll be in the show notes below this blog post. So what is Toby Miller's deal? What if you haven't seen it? Basically, I think it was X Games released a video on Toby Miller. He is this up and coming kid pro. I think he's 14, 15, around that age, and he's killing it. Okay, he's killing it. They're calling him the next Shaun White, and there's been a lot of hate. I see a lot of hate from supposedly core snowboarders, other kids saying like, oh, this isn't what snowboarding is about and all this other stuff. And on one hand, like I can get that, like this is a kid that clearly just loves snowboarding. At least that's what I saw from the video, and maybe we shouldn't be pushing him to do all this stuff, but it doesn't seem like he's being pushed. It seems like he wants to do these things. I think just the danger there is that at some point he may, like, all this corporate and sponsorship, all this stuff may kind of kill a bit of that love for snowboarding, which is one of the reasons why I'm not too big of a fan of the whole pro snowboarding career path. But that aside, just because he loves competing, just because the kid loves to progress and be coached and test his skills, it doesn't automatically mean that this is the wrong way for him to snowboard, right? I mean, there's that danger, like I said, there's that danger that they're going to push him too far. He's going to get too into that whole competitive mode and lose his love for snowboarding. That's the danger that's for him to manage. But outside of that, that who are we to say that he has to love powder only and not compete, or do this in snowboarding and not that? That there's so many ways to enjoy snowboarding. It's not just the way that you or me say you have to enjoy snowboarding, right? He can enjoy it. If he's enjoying the competition style thing, if he enjoys pushing himself like that, then good for him. Let him be his thing. I think I saw someone say it very well. It's just let the kid ride. I just hope they don't push him too far and that he doesn't get so involved in that competition side of things that it kills his love for snowboarding. But outside of that, I see no problem. If he wants to compete, he wants to progress, good for him. Don't hate on the kid just because he loves to do that sort of thing. Don't automatically assume that he's going to be like a douchey, like 16, 17-year-old kids that you see that get pushed by their parents to do something they don't like, and then they end up hating snowboarding once they're old enough to quit, right? Don't just assume that. He seems like a nice kid. He seems like he loves snowboarding. So I say good for the kid. Now, anyway, okay, let's get into some personal stuff. So this is a question that comes up a lot. I get so many people asking me why I almost never film myself riding. So why, I'm a good snowboarder, at least I think so. I got some good tricks down, and why you basically never see much footage of myself riding on my YouTube channel or anything like that. There's just not much footage of myself snowboarding. And the question is why? Well, it's mainly because I don't really like filming myself. When I go snowboarding, I just want to go snowboarding. You know, I don't want to think about having to film myself. I don't want to think about being on camera, all of that. No, you know, I just want to go snowboarding. I want to go ride park. I want to go do my thing. And yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I quit that whole pro journey kind of thing. You know, I didn't want my riding to be something that I had to think on, like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, you know. So that's why I never film myself. I just want to be able to be free and just ride, you know. I don't really care if someone sees me do a big trick or doesn't see me do a big trick. I just want to do my own thing and go snowboarding. So yeah, that's the main reason why you never see me on film, basically. I mean, I think at some point I should maybe film like a mini edit or something, but it's just not really a priority. I just don't really care if like people know I can do big tricks or not. I just like to snowboard, and that's the bottom line. So yeah, okay, here's an interesting one. Why do I hate forums and Reddit? So why do I hate snowboarding forums and Reddit? Well, it's not so much that I hate the snowboarding forums. Many of you guys will know because you guys are from there, is that I'm pretty active on snowboardingforum.com, and once in a while I'll post in the snowboarding Reddit, or I used to be more active there. But basically it gets annoying sometimes. Like, there's a lot of constant debate and like arguments for no reason, and I just don't care about that stuff, honestly. You know, it's like, one of the reasons why I'm still active on snowboarding forum but not Reddit is that at least on snowboarding forum, people tend to be more rational. You know, they tend to not start arguments for no reason, although it still happens from time to time. But on Reddit, man, like every second time, like I'll post some advice for someone asking about 360s or something like that, and it'll just end up in some huge debate with some random guy who just feels like he has the need to debate with me about something, and I just don't care. You know, I don't like debating. It's like I said, I just want to snowboard, help people out, and then snowboard more. So that's pretty much it. I don't like getting into the whole debate side of things, arguing with people all the time. And yeah, I just don't like drama. That's the main thing. That's why I don't really like forums and Reddits and that sort of thing. But I'm still active on snowboardingforum.com just because, you know, I like helping people out. I like doing that sort of things. And believe it or not, a lot of my traffic isn't actually from snowboardingforum.com. I don't actually get a whole lot from posting there. It's I get more from advertising. You know, I get more of my customers from advertising and other things than from the free stuff that I do on snowboarding forum or Reddit. So it's really just something that I just do on the side just because I like helping people with their riding. But yeah, I mean, that's the main reasons I'm not a big fan of forums and all of that in general. If it was my way, I wouldn't do any of that if I could avoid it, just because I just don't like all the arguments all the time, man. Like, I really don't understand. Like, for example, one time someone was talking about pro snowboarder salaries. So I thought I'd chime in, since I do know roughly like what a lot of them are making and that sort of thing. And so I chimed in and I basically said, look, a lot of pros aren't making that much. 99% of them, you know, they can't even support themselves from their job. So, you know, there's that top 1% of pro snowboarders that make a good income, that get rich and all that sort of thing. But the rest of them, most of them have a second job to try to support themselves, right? But I don't know, this guy apparently, I think he must have been a kid or something, but he basically told me, he went on a huge rant on why I was wrong and why pro snowboarders are all making tons of money. And then he linked some random internet site that said that pro snowboarders are making a ton of money, because I don't know, apparently that's credible evidence. But yeah, I mean, this goes back into why I don't like arguments and Reddits and arguing online and all of that, you know. Just kind of want to do my snowboard thing and not be involved in drama. So yeah, I mean, okay, so okay, here's another topic. Let's talk about games, the X Games, and what I saw, an interesting topic I saw come up. So a lot of people saw that video games were in the X Games, this last X Games. I think it was Call of Duty that they had in the X Games, and look, it's weird. How you first say it's weird. I mean, what do video games have to do with X Games? It's kind of like, and I'm a huge gamer. You know, I fully support esports. I think esports are going to be bigger than regular sports in the next 10 to 20 years. But it is odd, you know. I mean, it's just a weird thing. It's like, why are video games at the X Games? But on one level, I can kind of understand why it is, you know. I mean, the X Games has never really been about the athletes or anything like that. It's always been just about them making money. But yeah, I mean, oh man, I need some water. Okay, give me a second. Oh man, that's better. Okay, so I mean, video games. Look, for those that don't know, video games are growing at a huge rate. You know, they're esports or sports, whatever you want to call it. Video games as competitive sports are growing like crazy, like crazy. So I can see why X Games wants to get involved in that. It's going to be huge in another 5-10 years. It's going to be even bigger. So I can see why they want to do it. It's just kind of weird, you know. It doesn't seem to be even related to X Games. Although I guess they could start an esports section of X Games. I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like, and that's me as someone who, you know, I love video games and I fully support esports growing. I think it's a cool area to get involved in. But yeah, I don't know. X Games and video games, it's weird, you know, to see some guy throwing like a 720 off the mega ramp and then some guy playing Call of Duty in the other corner. I don't know, it's weird, but you know, I'm not fully against it. At the end of the day, you know, the X Games is the X Games. It's not a representative of snowboarding or anything like that. It's people competing and big companies sponsoring people competing. That's pretty much it. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my take on things right now. You guys will notice there's no real video this week. I thought I'd just put some cool footage in the background. So this is one of the times I built a backcountry kicker with my friends, and yeah, I mean, this is actually a failed kicker. It was way too small. The jump was way too small. The run-in wasn't good enough, and yeah, but I mean, it's fun. That's what you get involved in snowboarding for, right? To just do fun stuff like this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming up for Snomie that's going to be pretty cool, you know. I'm basically revamping a lot of Snomie, and on a side note, I'm kind of separating Snomie into two sections as well. So in the past, I would sometimes put a little bit of business advice, people who want to make a living doing what they love. You know, sometimes I blog about that, but it was a bit weird because Snomie is a snowboarding blog, but at the same time, people always ask me a lot about how they can start doing what I'm doing and that whole area of things. But it felt weird putting that business type of advice on Snomie. So I'm actually starting a second website. There'll be more details on that at a later date. It's still a work in progress, but basically I'm starting a second website where basically I'll just teach people how to do what I'm doing, make a living doing what you love. And it doesn't have to be in snowboarding. I mean, what I do applies to a lot of pretty much any niche, any other topic you want to get involved in. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in that, stay tuned. There will be more information about that coming up at some point in the next month or so. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. It's a bit of a shorter one because it's just me, but I feel like with this format, I can pump them out more regularly and you guys can just get to know me a bit better. I can be a bit more personal when it's just me on the podcast. So yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of cool stuff coming up for Snomie.com. I'm basically revamping the entire site. I'm organizing all the blogs because we have, I mean, for 2 years, I basically did a snowboard tip every day. And so much of that is lost to a lot of the guys that came in later. You might be newer to the blog, you didn't get to read it, or you know, that there might be that 1 360 tip and how to spin better or whatever it is that you're trying to find from the last 2 years of blogs. And there's so much stuff to dig through. It's so hard to find the right tips for what you want, and you might not even know that there's all those trick tips buried deep inside the blog. So what I'm doing is just revamping the whole site, organizing things better. There'll be a free membership where everything's organized neatly for you guys. And yeah, so a lot of big stuff coming up for Snomie.com. And, you know, if you guys enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe. We're on YouTube, iTunes, come check us out on the blog. So that's snomie.com, SNOMIE.com, and then you click on the blog section and it'll take you straight to a blog. So yeah, take care, and I'll see you guys inside the next episode.